host, Sean Lynn, in the pub for a Dram with Friends, where we talk about faith, family, food, and fun. Pull up a chair and I'll pour you a drink. Episode 37. We welcome a new friend into the pub today, Scott Williams. He's going to tell us how he used socks to share the gospel. Sit down as I pour us a dram. Welcome to another episode of A Dram with Friends. We are excited to have a new friend join us in the pub today, Scott Williams. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks, Sean. How are you today?
Not too bad. So I obviously didn't send the notes in advance, but I'm going to pour Wild Turkey 101, which is a reasonably priced whiskey that's very tasty from down your way in the U.S.
Perfect.
So for our friends in the pub, Scott, who is Scott Williams?
Scott Williams is a husband and a father, first and foremost, a Catholic, and we, my wife and I, just had our second child, Hannah, about 8 weeks ago. So I'm, running on fumes sometimes, but yeah, we've got two kids and a small business owner as well.
And that small business is Sock Religious, is it?
That's it. Yeah. So I worked full time in Catholic youth ministry for about almost 10 years. I worked as a youth minister at a parish for a few years, and then worked at the Archdiocese of Minneapolis for a few years. And we started this goofy side business called Sock Religious, which was just a Catholic sock company, and it's turned into a growing business. So it's been a lot of fun to see it grow.
Oh, that's awesome. Actually, I think I ordered my son a set of those socks for Christmas, and he was the one that suggested I talk to you. You and him had talked, and he was a similar path where he was a youth minister, or whatever you want to call it, whatever the proper term is in the Catholic Church.
There's as many terms that you could imagine. Everybody likes to be called something different.
Yes, but so what led you to start a sock company? And what is this sock company?
Yeah, so Sock Religious, it's what I like to call the world's largest Catholic sock company. We specialize in making socks with saints on them. So kind of the origin story is I was working full time in ministry. My wife and I got married, and we realized that working full time for the church, while it's a lot of joy and good things come from that, it's not always the highest paying career. So we always knew that we would need some type of additional income to support that ministry. And so I've always had somewhat of an entrepreneurial mind. I've had a lot of ideas that have never seen the light of day, which is probably a good thing. But I was working at the diocese, shirt and tie most days, and socks were kind of my jam. So I'd wear donut socks on National Donut Day, or I'd wear my American flag socks on the 4th of July. And my wife and I were talking and came up with this idea that, well, what if there was saint socks that we could wear on feast days, and we could celebrate the feasts of the church through this fun little tool? So that's where the idea got started. Nobody else was doing it at the time, so we gave it a shot, and we found a niche audience.
And I'm guessing that you're having trouble keeping the St. Joseph socks in stock at this current moment.
You wouldn't believe it. Yeah, we are selling more and more St. Joseph socks than I would have ever imagined.
Yeah, well, he's a good buddy of mine, so I'm glad that he's getting some high profile.
The year of St. Joseph.
Yeah, and So, are you still in the Minneapolis area, or
Um, I'm yeah, we live in Indianapolis, which is
Indianapolis? Sorry.
often confused with Minneapolis, but yeah, Indianapolis. We have a an office and a warehouse on the south side of Indianapolis where we just moved in there in September and keep plugging along.
Ah, good for you. And you've got a growing young family, and you're a young dad, and that's so important for to encourage one another by having young men like yourself steeped in the faith and building together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's um, yeah. I mean, faith has always been critically important to me ever since I was in college, and now it's not only am I responsible for my own faith life, but I'm responsible for getting my wife and my children to heaven as well. So that's a whole different ball game. But the more that I can just be authentic and live authentic Catholic values, then I think that's gonna show.
So, what was it in college that made your faith important to you, or why did the light switch go
Yeah,
on?
honestly, it was an invitation. I think in high school, sports became more important than going to church on Sunday sometimes, and especially during the beginning of college, lost my way a little bit. But there was something that was always beautiful and unique about liturgy and going to church, even though I didn't go all the time in high school. But when I got to college, I was walking across our college campus one day, and there was somebody that asked me if I wanted a cupcake, or a cupcake or a piece of cake. I can't remember. And I said, well, yes, of course, I would like a piece of cake. You can't turn that down. And they said, "Do you know what we're celebrating today?" And I was like, "I'm not sure." And it was the Nativity of Mary was the feast day, and they were celebrating Mary's birthday on the college campus by handing out cake to people on this secular campus. So
Oh, wow, wow.
so that was so I got a piece of cake and a little business card that invited me to a young adult mass, which was a kind of a new thing in our area. There was a parish in downtown Indianapolis that started kind of a specifically young adult community. And for me, growing up in the church, we went to mass frequently, almost every Sunday, but it was a suburban kind of parish and a lot of families. And I had never been to a place where people that like young adults and college students were praying together in a community. And there was something beautiful and unique and holy about not to say that suburban parishes and I find that to be beautiful just as much today, but just being able to identify with that faith along with peers was I was kind of hooked from there.
Well, and you bring up something important that at some point young people need to make the faith their own, and we've tried to encourage that with our kids early on by conferences and all the good stuff out there. I know we've got a priest here in Calgary that started up for young adults, like up to the age of 35, that kind of environment, and they've just recently moved downtown to the cathedral, and their hope is to build up the young people then to go out to the suburban
Yeah.
churches with a bit more of that fervent faith.
Yeah, I think it's good to start with that community, but you're not meant to stay there. Like, definitely go out to the other parishes and bring that vibrancy there as well.
Yes. So, as a young dad, are you finding yourself cooking a few more meals? Does your wife have the newborn? Like, is there a specialty? Is there a dad specialty?
Yeah, mostly I'm my specialty is carry out for most days, but But I'm getting better at some things. I've tried to make it a point every morning to make sure that I make breakfast for my wife and our older one. Just one less thing, and then I've done a couple of dinner things, but I'm not great at it.
Uh, so a tip, eggs Benedicts usually are really big hits, and they're not that hard to do.
Yeah.
So if you're, I use a blender method for the hollandaise sauce. So you just do the yolk and lemon and some cayenne pepper, and then you pour in the hot butter in the blender, and it thickens right away, and then you got instant hollandaise sauce.
Okay. It sounds easy. Let me see how much I can screw that up.
I have faith in you that you can do this and surprise your wife with an eggs Benedict this
For
weekend.
dinner
So,
or for breakfast?
well, that's the beauty is you
You can eat that
serve that
anytime?
anytime,
Okay.
and it's usually a Sunday brunch kind of thing. So I was running our men's group here pre-COVID,
Uh-huh.
breakfast club. That man is you, and that was one of the favorites for the guys is when I do the eggs Benedict, and there's nothing like conversion with eggs Benedict or omelets or so we've used meat, we've got barbecue outreach up here. We've got lots of neat things to try and engage
Are you
the guy.
are you the
So
chef of the family?
I yes, because my loving bride, after getting complaints from 8 kids over 36 years, she's kind of given up some of that. She's back to looking forward when the two of us are just there,
There
and
we go.
we can make meals that you're not going to get one of the kids going, yeah, I don't like this. Versus, I'm I'm pretty open to try anything and everything. So, but yes, I do the chef thing. I don't know if you remember that show Arthur as a kid
Oh
growing
yeah.
up, the cartoon. So for our 25th wedding anniversary, our kids got up and did a skit from there. Your dad's a chef. You think that's great? Just try and guess what's on your plate. So yes, I've experimented on my kids lots over the years.
That's fantastic.
So what else do you do for fun down there in Indianapolis? That's one city I haven't been to yet.
Oh, well, you'll have to come down. It's not at the top of most people's tourist attractions, but I'm a huge fan of the city. So, honestly, like my wife and I, we love to travel, which, doesn't always, maybe that's not the best answer for what do you like to do in Indianapolis? Get out. But, but we enjoy, going to local parks and going on hikes and just being out in nature. We purchased a motorhome last year to get on the road a little bit and do some more traveling as a family. It seems a little more feasible to load up in a vehicle than on an airplane these days. So that's been a lot of fun as well, just to be able to get on the road, see some new things. There's a lot to see in the country, that's for sure.
And I can't agree more. That is something that my wife and I have tried to do for our children, especially as you have larger families. Travel isn't at the top of the list quite often, but in 2000, Pope John Paul called for the Great Jubilee, so we set out for St. Joseph's Oratory and beyond and tried to figure out how to do that because we had some bad camping experiences and we had 6 children at the time.
Oh
So
yeah.
I got a travel trailer and we've we've we pulled it all the way out to Cape Breton and back that year, and then 10 years later we pulled another trailer down to Key West and back.
Oh,
So
you went to Key West and back? Oh my
yes.
goodness.
So
With how many kids?
well, the first time there was 6 kids and a mother-in-law, including our Patrick was only 3 months old
Okay.
when we left. And then next time we went with the youngest five and visited two of the older kids because Tim was going to university at Ave Maria, the Tim that
Uh-huh.
you know, and uh, and our daughter was living in St. Louis at the time.
That's an
We got
impressive road trip. That's incredible.
yeah.
What did you
and
pull? What did you pull the trailer with?
my GMC 15 passenger van.
That's so
So
awesome.
yeah, it's that those vans are very good for larger families. So
And pulling campers.
yeah. Some of the hills coming out of Denver, going up towards Santa Fe. I forget the name of the pass there, but it's a good climb.
Oh
I
man,
for,
that's wild. That's
so
incredible. I'm so
or
jealous.
or or actually, we went down to Tim's wedding the year after the big trip to Florida, and they were getting married in California, so we did the West Coast and coming back and coming out of Death Valley there up that hill, and it's like 40 Celsius, and the poor van pulling the trailer, and I had picked up a smoker for our barbecue outreach as well. So
So you did it a few times. I assume that it's was positive experience traveling with five kids on that long of a trip.
absolutely, you tend to bond more as a family, and you get to see some of the stuff that you miss maybe at home where one kid's putting down another kid, or so you get a little more intervention. You get to build bonds and memories that we still talk about, like the trip in 2000. My oldest daughter, who lives down in Georgia, the great Amethyst Mine adventure, where she wanted to go to this thing on the roadside, and we're on this dirt road pulling the trailer with six kids, and yeah, so lots of great memories. And one of the things that you can do with your kids is especially in North America here, a lot of the history is linked to the church. So you go to Santa Fe, New Mexico, you see where the faith came in there. You go to St. Augustine in Florida,
Yeah.
where the faith came in there. Kentucky, just south of you, where like that was the fourth diocese
Mm-hmm.
in the U.S. that covered all of the western states,
Yeah.
right? That was the diocese, even for Santa Fe, and then you go up to Quebec City and Montreal and the great churches and the history there. So I highly recommend it.
All right. Well, you got me all excited now. I need to book another trip.
He's pulling out the road
Yeah.
atlas and yeah, uh, going to Lynn, Massachusetts, just because my last name's Lynn, and realizing we're not in Kansas anymore. So yeah, but yeah, so there's lots of things that as a young man that you can do to make memories for your families, and that's whether you're struggling as a family to put bread on the table, there's ways to create
Mm-hmm.
memories wherever you are, because we were a single income family for the longest time, and just we didn't have the latest TV or
Yeah.
or yeah, so
That's incredible.
so you as a youth minister probably saw it. One of the segments that we talk about is a lot of our young men are struggling, and even what is a man. So, what advice do you give your 18-year-old self?
What advice do I give my 18-year-old self? Um, I think the advice that I would give myself is to authentically be yourself. I think when I was in high school and graduating and going into college, I was very worried about what the rest of the world thought of me or how I was perceived in certain situations or, you know, what accolades I had, and kind of drifted away from who the man God called me to be was. And I got kind of caught up in the facade of trying to, you know, put on, you know, I was just fake, like in so many ways. Just I don't know. So if I think if I could go back, I've always been my happiest when things were a little bit simpler and I had no reservation of just being me. It's kind of unique, like especially if you're able to get away from the people who know you, whether that's through going to college or something, and you kind of get to start fresh. Nobody has a preconceived interpretation of who you might be or the values that you have, and you just kind of get to be yourself and the person that God made you to be, and that's truly freeing.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great advice, and it's sometimes harder to do, but we all strive to to that, to be the man God's calling us to be. So it's a daily thing, and so one of the other segments is a good buddy of mine's Jeff Cavins, and he talks about riding with your posse. And so, who are the saints that are your go-to saints? Who are the saints that are with a sock company with a plethora of saints? Just pick a couple, please.
Yeah, I think definitely my go-to is Saint Joseph, and especially coming from, you know, becoming a father a couple of years ago, and being a business owner and employing people. Especially like the title of Saint Joseph the Worker has become very relevant in my life, and I've just drawn a lot of inspiration and peace from knowing that Saint Joseph taught Jesus as much as he did. So definitely Saint Joseph. I would say for my number two, if I had to pick a number two, I would go I would go with Saint Francis of Assisi. And I don't know if it's for any particular reason other than just the simplicity that came along with who he was and how he carried himself, and just trying to remind myself that sometimes simpler is better.
And we were talking about travel earlier, and I had the opportunity. I was coaching rugby, and we took the high school rugby team to Italy, and we went to
Oh
Assisi.
wow.
Even the young men on the trip, there is a vibe there, whatever you want to call it. There's a peace there that is indescribable. So he's one of my favorites too. That's my dad's middle name, so it's big in our family. He's My dad would say he's the patron saint of the family, but I'm I'm more of a Joseph guy. But
There we go.
so
Both are still in my
I'm
wheelhouse. There we go.
yeah, yeah. They're well, and that's the thing, is you can use ones for different reasons, right? And that's why it's good to have a couple friends to call
Yeah.
on.
The posse, right?
Uh, yeah, and that's just it. Is it's no different than you and I talking in the pub, because we believe that people are alive when they're in heaven, right?
100%.
So, uh, thank you for taking the time. How can people find your
Yeah.
socks? Or you have T-shirts and stuff on there as
Yeah,
well. I saw.
we've got a t-shirt line. We'll start rolling out some new products as well. But definitely the socks are our flagship product at sockreligious.com, or if you type in Catholic socks into Google, you'll find us as well.
Okay, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get some of those up here to Canada, and
There's
I want to.
there's a a distributor that we work with in Canada. I think it's called Sunrise Marion or Marion Sunrise, but
Okay.
they ship to Canada a lot better than we do. So,
Yeah, they're on the far coast though.
oh,
It's got to go like 10 hours east from you and then 30 hours west.
not the best flight.
Yeah. So they'd make a great journey, but yeah, for those of you that are in Eastern Canada, I've actually been out to Sunrise Marion on that trip in 2000. So it's a great place. So uh, thank you for taking time to meet me in the pub today. And I don't know if you're aware, but the origin of whiskey is a Gaelic term called Ishkabaha, which
Oh,
means water of life. And my prayer is that you continue to lead many souls to the true water of life. And thank you for joining us today.
thank you, Sean.
I hope you have enjoyed this episode of A Dram with Friends. Like and subscribe. Go to all podcast platforms to look for it on podcast, or go to godsquad.ca to support our mission.